While the entire world obsesses over Trump and China, TikTok bans, and AI taking jobs, something absolutely massive just happened in Southeast Asia that almost nobody noticed. Australia, one of the richest resource nations on Earth, quietly signed a partnership with Malaysia worth $40 billion. No major headlines, no breaking news alerts, no viral debates. Just two nations shaking hands on a deal that could decide who controls the minerals inside your phone, your car, and every solar panel being installed right now. Think about that. $40 billion changing hands, and you've probably never heard a single word about it. This isn't some boring trade agreement. This is about who controls the future. And right now, while everyone's distracted, Australia and Malaysia are positioning themselves at the center of that future. If you want the full truth about what's really happening in global resource politics, hit like so this reaches more people. Subscribe right now because stories like this never get covered anywhere else, and you deserve to know what powerful nations do behind closed doors. While TikTok debates about AI taking jobs, something more fundamental is happening. Nations are fighting a silent war over rocks. Not diamonds, not gold, lithium, cobalt, neodymium, dysprosium. Here's what makes this terrifying. One country controls 70% of global processing. Not mining, processing. And that country is China. You can mine lithium in Australia, Chile, or Argentina all you want. But if you can't turn raw ore into battery-grade lithium carbonate, you own nothing. You're just the raw material supplier. The real money, the real power, lives in the processing plants. The numbers that should scare you. 63% of the world's cobalt refining. China, 73% of lithium processing. China, 87% of rare earth refining. China, 100% of heavy rare earth separation. China. This means every iPhone, every Prius, every MRI machine. Their existence depends on Chinese facilities saying yes. Until October 2023, when Australia and Malaysia signed something different. This partnership has 5 layers most analysts completely miss. Layer 1, the Lynas template. Back in 2012, an Australian company called Lynas did something radical. They built an $800 million rare earth processing plant in Kuantan, Malaysia. Not in China, not in Australia. Malaysia. Why Malaysia? 3 reasons. 1, lower environmental regulations than Australia. 2, cheaper skilled labor than developed nations. 3, direct access to the Strait of Malacca, where $5.3 trillion in goods pass annually. That single plant now produces 20% of the world's rare earth supply outside China. It proved the model works. Layer 2, the critical minerals expansion. The new agreement takes this model and multiplies it by 20. We're talking 3 new lithium processing facilities, capacity 100,000 tons annually. 2 cobalt refineries, projected output 40,000 tons. Rare earth separation plants targeting all 17 elements. Total investment, $13.2 billion over 8 years. Each facility targets specific bottlenecks in the supply chain that currently force everyone through Chinese processors. Layer 3, the energy leverage. Here's the genius part nobody talks about. Processing rare earths requires massive energy. Malaysia doesn't have enough natural gas domestically. Australia is the world's second LNG exporter. This deal locks in 20-year gas supply contracts worth $18 billion. Malaysia gets reliable energy. Australia gets a locked-in customer that can't switch to Chinese suppliers. It's not just a minerals deal, it's an energy dependency that makes the partnership virtually unbreakable. Layer 4, the technology transfer. Australia developed specialized leaching techniques that extract 98% purity from low-grade ores. Malaysia gets access to this IP through joint ventures. In exchange, Malaysian semiconductor expertise, the country produces 13% of global chip packaging, flows back to Australian universities. This isn't just buying and selling, it's creating mutual technological dependence. Layer 5, the military dimension. Something nobody is reporting. Australia and Malaysia just signed defense cooperation agreements covering South China Sea naval patrols. Pure coincidence that this happened the same month as the resource deal? The Strait of Malacca isn't just an economic choke point, it's a military one. 60% of China's oil imports flow through these waters. If Malaysia and Australia coordinate closely, they jointly control access to China's energy lifeline. This resource partnership is also a security partnership wrapped in economic language. Who's actually making money? Let's follow the money because this is where it gets interesting. Lynas Rare Earths, LYC. Stock price doubled since partnership announcement. CEO Amanda Lacaze became one of the most powerful people you've never heard of. Controls rare earth supply for virtually every major defense contractor in the West. BHP Group just announced $2.1 billion Malaysian investment in nickel processing. Nickel is the secret ingredient in next-generation batteries that Tesla desperately needs. Wesfarmers, buying up lithium mines across Western Australia specifically to feed Malaysian processing plants. They're betting $3 billion that this partnership is permanent. Malaysian sovereign wealth fund, Khazanah, taking equity stakes in Australian mining companies. This isn't just buying minerals. Malaysia is literally buying ownership of Australian resources. China didn't sit idle. They banned export of gallium and germanium processing technology used in semiconductors, increased tariffs on Australian wine and barley, economic pressure, signed competing deals with Indonesia for nickel processing, pressured Malaysia through diplomatic channels on South China Sea disputes. But here's what changed the game. China's own resource nationalism backfired. When they restricted rare earth exports in 2010, they taught the world a lesson. Never depend on a single supplier. This partnership is the result of that lesson finally being learned. Why America is celebrating quietly. The Pentagon has a critical minerals list, 50 materials considered essential for national security. For 35 of those materials, China controls over 50% of global processing. This Australia Malaysia partnership breaks that monopoly for 12 critical elements. The US didn't spend a dollar, didn't negotiate a single clause, but got exactly what they wanted. An alternative to China that sits inside the US alliance network. Both Australia, AUKUS member, and Malaysia, 5 power defense arrangements, have defense treaties with America. The resources flowing through this partnership will never be sanctioned or blocked from reaching Western markets. Indonesia holds the world's largest nickel reserves, the metal everyone needs for EV batteries. They're watching Malaysia get Australian investment and wondering, why not us? Answer, political stability. Malaysia has had the same business-friendly policies for 40 years. Indonesia just banned nickel ore exports, then unbanned them, then imposed new taxes. Investors hate uncertainty, but Indonesia won't stay quiet. Expect competing offers, which could actually benefit the region by creating multiple processing hubs instead of just one. The EU just passed the Critical Raw Materials Act, requiring 40% of processing to happen in Europe by 2030. They're currently at 3%. Europe is now desperate to invest in this Australia-Malaysia corridor because building processing plants in Germany or France would cost 3x more and take twice as long. Expect European money to flood into Malaysian facilities over the next 24 months. The climate connection. Nobody mentions. Every climate goal depends on this partnership succeeding. The IEA projects we need. 6 times more lithium production by 2030. 4 times more cobalt. 7 times more rare earths. Where does that processing capacity come from? Either China adds more plants, or partnerships like Australia Malaysia scale up dramatically. Your government's climate pledges aren't just policy. They're bets that deals like this will work. Next time you buy an electric vehicle, check where the battery was made. There's a high probability the lithium was mined in Australia, processed in Malaysia, and assembled into cells in South Korea using this exact supply chain. The price you pay connects directly to whether this partnership succeeds. If it fails, China's monopoly continues, prices stay high. If it succeeds, competition drives costs down. This partnership works if both countries stay committed for 30 years. That's 8 election cycles in Australia. That's potential government changes, economic recessions, diplomatic crises. History says big partnerships like this either become permanent or collapse within a decade. There's rarely a middle ground. 3 things to watch. 1. 2025, Malaysian elections. If a pro-China government takes power, this entire partnership could freeze overnight. 2. Australian domestic politics. Labor unions are already protesting that processing should stay in Australia, not Malaysia. If political pressure builds, future governments might restrict raw material exports. 3. Chinese countermoves. Beijing will offer Malaysia economic incentives to slow cooperation with Australia. Belt and Road Initiative projects, trade deals, diplomatic support. Malaysia will face a choice. If this changed how you see global economics, hit subscribe because I'm breaking down the deals that actually run the world every single week. Drop a comment. Which countries should Australia partner with next? Indonesia's nickel? Vietnam's manufacturing? India's market size? I read every response. The world just shifted, and now you're one of the few who noticed.